Hari Riddhi Hari Magari Sani Rama Padasa. நவசித்தி பெற்றாலும் சிவபக்தி இல்லாத நரர்கள் வெறும் சாவி சம்போ. நவசித்தி பெற்றாலும் சிவபக்தி இல்லாத நரர்கள் வெறும் சாவி. வந்தே சங்கீதம். நவசித்தி பெற்றாலும் சிவபக்தி இல்லாத நரர்கள் வெறும் சாவி. Even if you have acquired the 9 siddhis, if you do not have bhakti for Lord Shiva, then you are utter waste, says Neelakanta Shivan in his Kirti. What does this mean? Why am I saying this? One, I would apply this on the person who made this song very popular, Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer, and say, even if you have listened to all the musicians in the world, all the good musicians in the world, but if you have not listened to Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer, then you are an utter waste. Why is it? Not for just one or two reasons, a plethora of reasons. A person who has the longest, probably the longest career in music, led a very healthy life and followed very healthy music, sang complete chaste Carnatic music, groomed a number of disciples, tuned a number of kritis, and what not. And he set an example as to how to lead a life of a musician. Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer lived for around 95 years, 1908 to 2003. And for 70 years almost, he was at the top. Impossible for anyone to achieve. Because all of us have a period when we hit the top, and sometimes there's a lull. These vicissitudes happen very regularly. But in the case of Dr. Semmangudi, he probably came to the platform when he was 17 or 18 or so, and he stayed at the top till his last concert. What did he sing? How did he sing? There are many, many recordings available in the media for you to go and listen. But let us analyze what made him so great. He was a fighter, first of all. He was not bestowed with the loveliest of voices. And this many people even told him, you don't seem to be having a voice for a vocalist. Why don't you shift to instrument? But he fought for it. He struggled to find the right type of delivering the voice so that it sounded Shruti Shuddham and it sounded Carnatic. This itself is a big lesson for most of us. There are many of us or some of us who struggle with our voices, and we often tend to lose hope. Oh, that's all over. No. You still have hope. Think of Dr. Semmangudi. And he started singing rigorously, practicing rigorously. And from the first concert itself, he was able to hit the top. And what an experience in listening. He has heard the likes of Konerajapuram Vaidyanatha Iyer and Pushpavanam Iyer, and all the musicians who sang from then, and later Arikuti Ramanujagar, Maharajapuram Vishwanatha Iyer, and then his own contemporaries, G. N. Balasubramaniam, Alathur brothers, and then his juniors, D. K. Pettamal, M. S. Subbulakshmi, and then D. K. Jayaraman, K. V. and etc., Seshagopal and T. V. He has heard everyone up till 2003. And that rich experience which he gained from listening and from interacting with musicians, interacting with composers, he could absorb so many values from them, share values, and he thus became a very, very accomplished musician. Now let's see how he carried his music with him. Let us split into Kalpitam and Vande Sangeetam for us to understand what his contribution is and how he pursued music. Kalpita Sangeetam is Sangeetam which we learn from our teachers, we pass on to the next generation, or we set kritis from books like Sampradaya Pradashini, etc. And then we teach the disciples, and disciple teaches his disciple, moves on. Dr. Semmangudi was very careful in this. All the kritis that he learned, he sang them as taught. And all the kritis that he learned from even the books like Sampradaya Pradarshini were sung to a T. There were many kritis. Shri Matru Bhutam Trishiragiri Natham Hridi Chintaye Shri Ramam Ravi Kulabdi Somam Shri Ramam Mahaganapatim Vande Madhyamarabrindam Mahalakshmi Karunarasalahari Mahalakshmi Karunarasa. Why? Mahaganapate Palayashum. So many kritis he probably learned from Sandhyavandanam Srinivasa Rao or T.L. Venkatramayar or from the books Sampradaya Pradarshini. They are all conforming to the script. And the Sangeetas are sung twice. The Sangeetas are maintained in their order. Never did he move out of the pattern throughout his life. Suppose he has learned a kriti at the age of 22 or 25, even when he sang it at the age of 75 or 80, he sang it the same way. Such a discipline that the person had in this Kalpita Sangeetam. Manodharma Sangeetam. That was his favorite and our favorite too, because every time he jumped into the Manodharma Sangeetam, there was a tremendous excitement and tremendous music coming out. The Alapanas, for example, today and many years back, since many years back, we had the procedure of starting Alapana from the lower octave and moving upward, and then having a circle of Sangadis, some Brikas, and then finishing off. It's a usual pattern, nothing wrong with this. But Semmangudi's pattern of singing was much more traditional and much more based on raga bhava than the structuring of the Alapana. Suppose you were to take a Alapana of Karagarapriya, that's what he would do. Some of us, if we had to take Alapana, start Alapana of Karagarapriya, we would say, which is very correct. But his way of doing was, he would just sketch, like a painter uses his brush. And he drew a lot of inspiration from Nadaswara Vidwan. He was probably the first musician to draw so much of inspiration from the Nadaswara Vidwan. He has himself said it, that if there's a pattern called Nadaswaram singing, it is mine. And the cut Sangadis. This cut Sangadis. He sang them very beautifully. It was like slicing a bread which is uncut, unsliced. Or it's like using a sword and swinging it along, cutting the trees. That cut Sangadis he could sing very easily. You could sing it with ease. And his Alapanas always hit the bullseye. Never did he wander around looking for the best Sangadis. No, it just flowed. And the Neraval is very interesting. He sang a lot of Neravals and he sang a lot of Swarams too. What is beautiful in the Neraval was that he would initially dwell in the first few words and then move on to the other words and then sing Madhyama Kalam a lot. For example, Neraval in Kalyani. Nipada Pankajamu నెరనమ్మిన వాడుగదా నీ పాద పంకజము విరాన బ్రోవైతే. What he would do is, నీ పాద పంకజము, నీ పాద పంకజము, నీ పాద పంకజము. So, నీ పాద పంకజము will occupy the first Neraval singing, and then you're slowly bringing the other words, and then bring a beautiful Madhyamakal Neraval of it. నీ పాద పంకజము నెరనమ్మిన వాడుగదా నీ పాద పంకజము నెరనమ్మిన వాడుగదా నీ పాద పంకజము. And then the galloping Madhyamakal Neraval. నీ పాద పంకజము నెరనమ్మిన వాడుగదా నీ పాద పంకజము. You go on and on. What a stamina one should have to sing like this at the age of 80 and 85. He did it with other ragas too. Bhuloka vaikuntham idiyani bhuloka vaikuntham idiyani bhuloka vaikuntham idiyani bhuloka vaikuntham. He would start it with a lot of serenity and calmness and slowly build it up, build up the verb. And when it came to Madhyamakalam Neraval, it would sound like this. Bhuloka vaikuntham idiyani bhuloka vaikuntham. And go on for hours together. Todi also, Kararapriya, Bhairavi. Whatever raga he sang in Neraval, there was a lot of raga bhavas pouring out of it. When it came to swaras too, whether it's Vande Sangeetam, it's swaras or Neraval or Alapana, that person had only one thing in mind, the raga bhava. For example, when you take the first kala swaras, alakalamu dunu, alakalamu dunu. Suppose you had to sing the Anagha swaram, there's one way of singing it, which most of us do. Dapa magari gamalakalamu dunu. This is correct. But that is not the way Dr. Semmangudi would sing it. He would sing it, fleshing it with the raga bhava. Dapamagari gamalakalamu dunu maga pamaga dapamaga mani dapamagalakalamu dunu. You see the difference? Maga pamaga dapamaga nida pamaga ma alagalamu dunu. This is correct. But the raga bhava is still not come out fully, and that comes out when Semmangudi sings it in this fashion. Maga pamaga dapamaga dapaga ma pamaga ma alagalamu gari maga pamada punida sanida nida pamagalakalamu dunu. So when he sang the Vanangalam swarams, what is flowing in his mind is not the swaras, it is a raga bhava. Similarly with the Madhyamakala swaras, pada pada ma pada nida da pa ma nida ni pa nida da pa ma pa nida pa ma ga ma pa ga pa ma ga ma ga la ga la maga pa maga da pa ma ga ri sa ni sa ri ga ma pa ma ga ma pa da pa ma ga ma pa da ni da pa ma ga ma pa ma ga ri sa ri ga ma ga la. The final touches that have a punch before he started this song. Ma ga ri sa ri ga ma ga la ga la. All this added to a gusto singing, a woeful singing, but not compromising on serenity or the classical values. The same sort of a feeling we had when we heard him sing Tanam, and a lot of poignant moments when we heard him sing the Virtham. When he sang the Virtham, the words are all perfect, but the Raga Bhava stood up. And that is why in a concert, if he started Virtham singing, that itself would consume around 10 to 15 minutes. And people would be enjoying it. He would be enjoying the words along with the Raga Bhava. Well, the Mandodharma and the Kalpita Sangeetam. But these two don't alone make a musician great. Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer had a wonderful command over the tuning of kritis, and he was an excellent tunesmith. Many of the compositions that we hear today, we actually don't know that he had tuned it. Sadasiva Brahmendra, Tarangams, some Annamacharya kritis. Bhavayami Raghuramam Bhavya Sugunaramam. This was originally in Saveri. It was tuned to Ragamalika by Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer. Vande Vasudevam Annamacharya. It was tuned by Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer. Such a beautiful tunesmith that if you look at the tune, you would find that the language, the words, the tune, they all go together. To give you a small example, Padagavara Jatayunutam. Look at the Swaraksham that he has fit in there. Padagavara. Looking at the way he has tuned the kritis, we can certainly be sure that he had a very good command over the language. He knew the languages that he was tuning. Otherwise, it is impossible. He has tuned Tiruvambavis. And once he was also making an announcement saying that please tune the Tirukkurals and sing them. And he's also showing an example how it can be tuned. Such a person who could think ahead, absorb from the present and think ahead. Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer had a wonderful lineage of disciples. All of them are talented, all of them reached the top. They are still doing a great service of Carnatic music. Srimati M. S. Subbalakshmi, Professor T. N. Krishnan, Sri T. M. Tyagarajan, Sri P. S. Narayan Swami, Sri V. Subramaniam, Pale Ramachandran. Many, countless. And they all sing together in the same fashion. You can check this out. You can go to YouTube, feed disciples of Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer. You will get a couple of clippings. Bhavyami Raghuramam, Adhikapram, Sri Dakshinamurti, Chetha Balakrishna. You will find the disciples along with Dr. Semmangudi's daughters. They are singing these kritis. None of them will be looking at each other while singing the kritis. They are all sure of what they have been taught and what they are singing, and everything will be in unison. Nobody will looking, is that the next Sangati? Should I sing the Sangati again? Oh, what should I do? No such doubts at all. That is the way the person sang. Dr. Semmangudi sang it that way and he has taught it that way, and the disciples have understood it that way. Such a good teacher. He could teach in such a fashion that the student could absorb the music in its own strength. And then, what a fine concert craft he had. It is very mesmerizing. He hardly started a concert with the Varnam. He could even start a concert with the Kannathan Rinapai. Kannathan Rinapai, Karunamanage, Kannathan Rinapai, Karunamanage, Kannathan Rinapai. Karunam, this is the first song that he has sung in a concert. And at such speed, I think it was in the 50s or 60s. When asked, he said, how do you manage to keep your concert so very engrossed, so very attractive? He said, always think. I don't think he planned his concert meticulously like M. S. Subbalakshmi or somebody else did. But there must have been a certain amount of planning. But he never used to give much of a gap between two songs. If one song ended, the other song would start in a couple of seconds. Mero samana or it'll start another pattern. This is what Arikudi did, and he somehow liked that pattern and he kept that craft He borrowed that craft from Arikudi. He could draw so much from his contemporaries. Of course, he was a disciple of Maharaj Param Sri Vishwanath Iyer, but he has himself declared that he is a Manasika Shishya of Arikudi Raman Jayangar. And he has learned from the Dhanamal family, Padams, Javalis, etc., and sung them on stage. Smarasundaranguni, etc. He used to say, if I were to be born again as a musician, I would like to sing like Arikudi Raman Jayangar. And obviously, many of his concerts had an Ananda Bhairavi or a Maya Malagaola and Thodi, Shakram. These are all featured very regularly. But he also sang swaras for Natanarayani, Manjari, Hindola Vasantam with so much ease. How is that possible? The attitude. Simply the attitude. The attitude to see Raga Bhava and everything. Attitude to keep on learning. And the attitude to absorb good things from others, irrespective of the generation. That is why he was able to move very well with his seniors, with his peers, and all his juniors. Till the person who sang in 2003, he had a good relationship. That sort of a relationship maintaining in order to acquire knowledge is something he had to learn from Dr. Semmangudi. Even when he was crossing swords with people like Balamuli Krishna and Sri S. Balachandar, he respected their vidvat, and similarly they also showed their respect for him. When the Swaji Tirunal controversy was going at its peak, when somebody criticized Dr. S. Balachandar's music, Dr. Semmangudi said, this is not about his music. He is a great Udvan. Similarly, when somebody went and told Dr. S. Balachandar something ill about Semmangudi's music, he said, sorry, please shut up. Semmangudi's music is far beyond comments. He is a great musician. The controversy is about something else. So everyone, although they might have not liked certain things which he did, had a tremendous respect for his music. And that carried on from generation to generation and it will go on forever. As a person, as a musician also, he kept on evolving himself. It's very important. We should never stagnate. Keep on evolving. I remember in a function, when Dr. C.V. Narasimhan was donating all his recordings to Music Academy, he spoke in the function and he said, I totally disapprove of this. How ironical, a person who is called to inaugurate it said, I disapprove of this. Because we are not singing the way we were. We have changed our music to suit the needs. We have evolved. Why should you listen to something which is not ours anymore? This is what he said. People are shocked, including C.V. Narasimhan. But that is the truth. Musicians will evolve, should evolve. And Dr. Semmangudi evolved for more than 80 years to bring such great music. And most of us don't know that he had a wonderful knowledge of voice culture. We often have heard him sing this. We have heard him sing this. Do you know that there's a lot of meaning in this? The nasality which he uses is to cushion the voice, and which is very important for the voice. Nabi, Hrit, Kanta, Rasana, Nasadula. Nasadula is very important. Dr. Semmangudi and myself were listening to a concert. I had the good fortune of sitting beside him and listening to the concert. He could predict what the singer is going to do. First he said, in a few seconds, he is going to cough. Few seconds, the artist started coughing. I asked him, how did you know? In that portion, you have to give a nasality to it. Some nasality has to be included in that portion. If you don't do it, the entire pressure will fall on the throat, and when you go to the upper octave, it will cough. Have you heard any musician analyze this music like this? And similarly, he left before me and he said, this musician is going to finish his concert in a hurry. You sit and listen, I am going. I decided to stay back and check out what's going to happen, and it happened exactly the way he said. The musician rushed, Haribari, he finished the concert and the concert ended. He was able to predict what the musician was doing. Once Dr. M. Karunanidhi, the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, said, we are very thankful that Dr. Semmangudi is not in politics. If he had been in politics, we would have been washed away. That was a wonderful comment that he made because Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa was an astute politician amongst the musicians. Not in the ugly sense. He was so clever that he could utter the right word at the right time to the right people at the right proportion, which is something most of us cannot do. And that made him a very, very endearing person. A very, very endearing person because he was politically very, very astute. I could go on talking about Semmangudi. And if you want to wish someone, a musician, a good life and good music, you can always tell him, you must have a good life and good health like Semmangudi. That would be the greatest blessing you can give for another musician.